I'm here with Jono Bacon, Canonical Community Manager for Ubuntu. Hi, Jono.
Hello.
So, what are you making of UDS?
It's good. Yeah, we're having a good UDS. So this is my fourth UDS, I think it is, and each time we try to make it a little bit better, make it as efficient, but also a lot of fun as well. And this one, so far, I mean, it's early stages yet. It's halfway through the first day, but it's going really well. We're really happy with everything.
There's a load of tracks, lots of different tracks. What are they?
We break it down into, I think, 7 tracks. We've got platform, desktop, community, QA, kernel, mobile, and server. And yeah, we break all of the sessions down to into these different tracks. And then we've also got a couple of like meeting rooms where people can have just one-to-one meetings, and there's loads of corridor meetings going on as well. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. There's a lot of sessions.
Perhaps the only one of those that isn't hugely intuitive is the platform one. What does that entail?
Well, you can broadly break the Ubuntu system into 2 areas, the platform and the desktop, if you're talking about Ubuntu desktop. The platform is kind of the underlying, it's like the engine. So you can think of it as pretty much everything below the GUI in many ways. A lot of it is system level stuff, things like getting your system booted, things like messaging frameworks and logging systems and things like that. The kind of stuff that you need to actually run a GUI in terms of the desktop, and the things that you actually need to run server software. So it's kind of the guts of the system, and then the desktop builds on top of that, and the server builds on top of that as well.
So what are the most exciting things that you've seen this week, or that you're looking forward to over the rest of the week?
There's bags of stuff. There's some really cool stuff for this one. I mean, something that's interesting and exciting right now is what we're calling Ubuntu Distributed Development, which is basically keeping all of the source code in Bazaar, which hooks very well with the Launchpad. The thing that's exciting about that is that it kind of shakes up the way people do distribution development work, because the distribution development work is quite complicated in some ways, because you've got to make patches and you've got to attach them to bug reports and all this kind of stuff, and you've got to create diffs and all this kind of stuff, and it hooks in. But with everything being in source control, you get all of the benefits of source control. And from a development perspective, that's incredible. But from my team, for the community team's perspective, it also means that we're going to have to re-architect some of our community processes to show people how to use Bazaar and things like that. But it's a big picture thing, and the development's already started, and it's really exciting seeing what's going to happen there, because it's going to change how our distribution is developed, and it'll make it a lot more efficient, which means it's easy for people to get involved. So that excites me a lot. There's things we're talking about, loco teams, and we've got a new loco council that's going to be helping to run the loco project, which is exciting. We've also got lots of QA related bits and pieces, and also talking about bug workflow as well with upstreams. We're trying to make it as efficient as possible to send bugs upstream. So someone files a bug, if it exists upstream, if it exists in Ubuntu, we need to try and hook the 2 of them together as best as possible. And when a fix is committed upstream, we want this to flow into Ubuntu and vice versa. And there's lots of these kind of process-related challenges, which I find quite interesting. And UDS is a great opportunity to sit down with smart people and talk to them about it. So.
Now, as well as having been involved in the planning of the conference, you're also leading the community thread, as you would think from your job. What are the particular things that you're looking forward to out of the community section?
From the community track, we've got things like some work on the IRC community, trying to improve how that's governed. A lot of it is governance on this particular UDS, in terms of IRC, in terms of the forums, in terms of loco teams. We had a session about Brainstorm today, and how we can get ideas from Brainstorm, which is like an ideas database, and how we can get them hooked up with developers. So when people put ideas in Brainstorm, we can pick the most potent ideas and make sure that they get developer focused, so developers can assess whether they're worth working on. There's all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's elements of Motu, encouraging people how to get involved in the Motu and get involved with Ubuntu development, and it's all very, very developer focused. But there's a lot of governance stuff this time around, because the community's grown to a point now where we're having to add some extra systems in place, because it's growing so fast. So, for example, Ubuntu membership. If someone wants to be an Ubuntu member, they can apply to be a member, and the community council will vet those people. And community council meetings were taking 3-4 hours because there were so many members. So we've had to break that into 3 regional membership boards, and that's involved building 3 boards with 10 people on each of these boards. And it sounds quite bureaucratic, but it actually isn't. I mean, we sit there and we try to build these systems so everybody can contribute to an Ubuntu in as hassle-free a way as possible, but the project still feels relatively governed, because when you've got hundreds of thousands of contributors, you've got to have some of this stuff in place.
In terms of these changes and this extra governance, is it something that you've noticed over the previous 6 months, say, that there have been issues or there have been growing pains with the community?
Some of these things have been building for a while. So the membership thing's been building for longer than 6 months. It's just in the last 6 months it's become an issue that we felt we need to really tend to. The loco teams, we've really seen a significant amount of growth there, and we've had to build a council, and that's been again something that's been on the list of things to do for a while. Governance is something that's slow to get in place because you want to do it right. You know, we've committed to everybody that we're an open project, we're a transparent project, and we want to do things as openly and transparently as possible. And it could be conceivable that, you know, I could just sit down and say, you know, these 5 people will lead this council, there we go. But that's not the way we do things. You know, we try to go through the right processes and the right procedures to help our councils feel as efficient and as open as possible. But yeah, there's been some things in the last 6 months that have kind of triggered certain things that need changing, but I think we're in pretty good shape. It's just a case of refining what we've got right now.
This is obviously a developers summit, and there's obviously a lot of developers that are here. Do you think the community side sort of takes a back seat to that? Is there a need for a community summit?
When I first joined Canonical, I thought that the community side of things would kind of be seen as the freakish kind of twin or something, you know. But it hasn't. I mean, it's become a very central track. It's become one of the busiest tracks that we've got because it deals with stuff that affects everybody. But for developers, it deals with elements that they don't want to think about because they're focused on development. So a developer doesn't want to think about governance, doesn't want to think about councils and processes encouraging new developers and this kind of stuff. Developers just want to get on doing development. And so a lot of this stuff obviously is for the community track, but it's very much a core part of it. It doesn't feel like kind of an unnecessary addition in many ways. The UDS is about it's about technical software discussion, but it's also about ensuring our project is run as efficiently and as possible. And the thing I like about the community track is we have these roundtable discussions at the beginning of every track, and I like to use those as an opportunity to talk about very generic things that still need discussion. So, for example, how do we make Ubuntu? How do we keep Ubuntu being fun? You know, you can't have a very definitive discussion about that. You can't have something that results in action points in many cases. But you want to just get an idea of how we can make Ubuntu fun for people, because that's why we all do it. You know, and things like how do you stop people getting burnt out? You know, I mean, burnout is a real problem in software, and particularly in free software, where we're all passionate about it and we do it all day, every day. So it's kind of useful to have those sessions there. So they're quite generic, but it's a pretty busy track to say the least.
There's also the social side of UDS, as I understand it. Some big things planned for the week?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that we really work hard at is to not only make sure UDS is very productive in terms of work, but also really, really fun for people. You know, we sponsor, as in Canonical sponsor, a lot of people to come to UDS, and we want people to not feel like, you know, when the clock hits 6 o'clock that they don't know what to do and they've just got to sit in the hotel room by themselves. So we've organised with this UDS. We've tried to be a bit more proactive in this. So we've got, you know, events tonight, which is Monday, on Wednesday, and on Friday night we've actually rented a bar, a venue, and we've hired a load of instruments, and we've put together a band from a bunch of the delegates who are here at the UDS. So we've got some people playing drums and guitar and whatnot. We've got about 4 or 5 guitarists and 3 bassists, and it seems that I'm the only drummer. We're desperately trying to find another drummer, so I don't have to sit on the drums all night. But it's things like that are a lot of fun, and helping people to hook up properly for dinner and things like that. You know, we don't want people to feel at a loose end in the evenings, because particularly if it's your first one, you don't really know that many people. But we've really discovered that with any distributed group of people, whether it's a company or whether it's a free software project, you've got to get everyone together at least once every 6 months to reinstate those bonds that they have between each other. They've got to be able to let their hair down and have a couple of drinks and have dinner together and make some rubbish jokes and all the rest of it. So UDS not only serves as a means for us to scope out Ubuntu, but also to kind of reinvigorate those personal relationships between people, which is important.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.